This is Dubai, crown jewel of the Arab world and one of the most visited cities on the entire globe. And they got there by one simple idea: do whatever has been done before, but bigger. A motto that has worked impressively well, so much so that it has sparked copycats all around the Middle East, except for the UAE's next door neighbor, Oman. You see, in a world of Burj Khalifas and palm-shaped islands, Oman is using its oil money in a completely different path, one that might just outlast that of Dubai. With the oil boom that started back in the 70s, this region in the Middle East that was largely invisible to the rest of the world suddenly couldn't be ignored. At the forefront was a small city in the Arab-Persian Gulf that was previously just a hub for pearl divers, Dubai. Now, with black gold oozing out of the ground, the UAE had access to basically unlimited funds. And it showed. Infrastructure projects of gigantic scale were carried out on essentially a blank canvas. Leaders of the UAE now had resources and space as well as complete control to build cities from scratch and make them however they wanted. So they did, and they went big, everything from the world's tallest tower to man-made islands and everything in between. The success of Dubai was not ignored. Neighbors like Abu Dhabi, Qatar, and now Saudi Arabia are following suit, with even more crazy plans at even higher price tags. Saudi Arabia announced a $1 trillion linear city. Qatar announced a $22 billion investment plan for their own futuristic city. Jeddah announced a skyscraper promising to dethrone the record of the Burj Khalifa. Everyone is vying to be the next commercial miracle like Dubai. And at the tip of the peninsula is the quiet neighbor next door that seemingly everyone glosses over, Oman. Even though it may not come up often, Oman was part of the same oil boom that has and is currently transforming the Middle East. They too have massive reserves of crude oil as well as natural gas, so why did they fall behind? You see, it's all by design. Oman from the outside might be unimpressive. It looks decent for a weekend getaway, but nothing like the global hub for tourism like Dubai is. Except that it's all intentional. Oman discovered its oil deposits around the same time as the rest of its neighbors. While everyone else went out and splurged heavily on immediate tourism and commerce, Oman had a different plan in mind. The leaders at the time were hesitant to use the money to break down its natural history and make something artificial for instant growth. Unlike Dubai, that made cities from scratch on a blank canvas, Oman seeks to enhance the soul of the country that was already there. If you notice, Oman doesn't have any tall buildings. While its surrounding friends are racing for the next omega tall building, Oman doesn't allow for any building taller than 6 stories. The architecture plan of Oman is one that wants to blend in with its natural landscape rather than take away from it. While the others are busy preparing cities for tourism, Oman wants to be a leader in manufacturing and education. Its education sector alone contributes 5% to Oman's GDP, while manufacturing reaching 10% contribution. These are only set to grow as Oman is planning on investing billions into these sectors with its Vision 2040. However, unlike the built-from-scratch cities, Oman isn't trying to bite off more than it can chew. You see, the method of the other countries mentioned is one that works backwards. Basically, invest as much as you can in giant mega projects and then worry about long-term sustainability later. This is why, although Dubai is world famous, with more world records than you can count on 2 hands, the city itself is extremely poorly designed. There is possibly no other city in the world that is so heavily reliant on cars with such a low necessity for them. Its massive interchanges and highways on every corner make it impossible to get anywhere without a car. The city has exploded in growth, and yet it feels unfocused in city planning. Everything about it feels sudden and artificial. Yes, Dubai is an economic miracle that is impressive on its own right. However, the signs of its poor planning can't be ignored. The same pattern is emerging in the other built-from-scratch cities as well. Over in Jeddah Economic City, the same method was carried out. Build the grand eye-catcher first, in this case the Jeddah Tower, the rival to the Burj Khalifa, and then worry about the actual community and living experience later. Fast forward to today, the land still sits empty, half started over a decade later. The saying is that Rome wasn't built in a day, meaning it takes time and iterations to make a truly impressive city, one that lasts. The only reason cities like New York, London, or Tokyo are as big and culturally important as they are is because of the many years of investment in its foundations that eventually led to the finer details. Oman is the anti-Dubai because it sees it exactly that way. Oman knows that it can spend billions on infrastructure projects to quickly grab people's attention, but instead, they're playing the long game. By focusing on steady improvement, focusing on education, its citizens, and creating a strong and skilled workforce, it knows that it can have a much more steady and improving economy for decades and maybe even centuries to come. So it's going slow and steady. It has the money to build its own floating cities, but instead they want their growing population to be able to afford homes. They want stability for their citizens. Instead of massive interchanges that look out of place, they're investing in walkable downtowns and central parks with mosques, hospitals, and other necessities at a short, accessible distance away. It also wants to connect its major cities with quick and cheap public transport. Oman is also unique in its heavy shift into sustainability. As part of its Vision 2040, it has set some ambitious goals for the future of the country, including having net zero emissions by 2050. They also want renewable energy such as solar to provide at least 40% of the energy demands of the country by 2040 and 100% by 2050. Another bold move they're aiming for is a circular economy that takes the country's waste and transforms it into usable energy. Now, anyone can make ambitious claims about the future. We saw examples of the very same thing earlier, where many leaders bite off more than they can chew, only for it to sit unfinished collecting dust. Oman's goals are also ambitious. However, based on the history of the nation and its mentality, it looks like they're willing to play the long game, sacrificing short-term goals for long-term sustainment. A statement that can encapsulate it best is that while the UAE and Saudi Arabia want to be the next New York or London, Oman wants to be the Switzerland or Monaco of the Middle East. Not too flashy, but to become wealthy in silence. Hey, thank you for watching. The channel recently hit 1,000 subscribers. It may not look like much to some, but it still means so much. So thank you, and leave a comment on anything you want to see next.